His first day began in the rain. Not the dramatic kind. Not a storm with thunder crashing like in the movies, just a soft gray drizzle that made the city look even more tired than usual. Jay stood across the street from Vexen Technologies, watching the building like it was a person. Not a workplace, not a glass structure, but something alive. Something that used to be his. He adjusted the strap of his worn canvas bag, took a deep breath, and crossed. The security guard at the entrance barely glanced at his ID. "Interns use the side door," the man muttered without looking up. Jay said nothing. He didn't flinch. He just smiled faintly, nodded, and turned left. That was the first test, and the first failure. Not for Jay, but for the company he had once built. Vexen was cold inside. Not physically. The HVAC worked fine. But spiritually. The walls had that corporate buzz. Too many Slack pings, not enough eye contact. Jay checked in at the desk. The receptionist looked stressed. She pushed a wrinkled map across the counter, annoyed. "Your cubicle's in the back. The corner. Past the vending machines." Jay nodded again. No welcome. No team intro. Not even a cheap company mug. Jay found his desk tucked into the corner of a dim, narrow hallway. The chair creaked like a haunted rocking horse. The monitor was mismatched, and someone had scratched "loser" into the side of the filing cabinet. Still, he sat, opened his laptop, and started typing. No one noticed. He wore a hoodie, gray and unbranded, old jeans, simple sneakers. To them, he was just another forgotten intern, one of 20 brought on for the summer program, a placeholder, a seat filler. But Jay noticed them. He saw how the juniors panicked when the team lead walked by. He watched how people talked over the quiet girl during meetings. He watched who took credit and who stayed behind to fix the bugs. And then he met Kyle. Kyle didn't walk. He strode. You could hear his laugh before he entered a room. Loud, bright, expensive. His shirt cuffs peeked out just enough to show a luxury watch. Not a Rolex, too flashy. A Vacheron Constantin. More subtle, more smug. Jay had designed that man 5 years ago. Not Kyle specifically, but the archetype. He used to hire them by the dozen, before he realized how much damage they could do.
Kyle dropped a stack of folders on Jay's desk. Casual.
"Morning, new guy. You must be Jay? Or James? Doesn't matter." He winked, confident. "Run these reports to compliance. Then grab the lunch order for the dev floor. No onions on the VP's sandwich this time, cool?" Jay didn't respond right away. He looked at the folders, then at Kyle, then nodded, calm. "Sure, no onions." He spent the rest of the day walking, from floor to floor, office to office. Some employees were kind. Most weren't. Some smiled politely. Others talked around him like he was invisible. No one ever asked who he was, or why a man in his late 30s was interning. They just assumed he was lost. And in a way, maybe he was. At 6:45 p.m., the office began to empty. Jay stayed. He watched as Kyle joked with the HR manager in the break room, watched him slide an arm around her shoulder, watched her smile, tight and uncomfortable. Jay wrote it down, not in an app, not in a database, in his mind. He recorded everything. When Jay finally left the office, the rain had stopped, but the streetlights made the puddles glow like silver coins. He walked 3 blocks in silence, turned into a corner diner, sat at the booth in the back. A man was already waiting there, dressed sharp, quiet, waiting. Jay slid into the seat. The man nodded. Good first day? Jay didn't smile. He never smiled when it was about the company. Flat. I saw everything I needed, he said, determined. And we've only just started.
Jay returned the next morning before the sun was up. The office was silent, only the hum of the vending machines filled the halls. He liked it this way. Quiet, watchful. He made coffee for himself, black, no sugar, then made a second pot for the others just to see who would thank him. By 9 a.m., the office buzz returned. By 9:05, the kindness was gone. Kyle arrived at 9:30. Late again, no apology. He spotted Jay in the break room and grinned. Hey, coffee intern. What's the secret recipe today, huh? Burnt beans and broken dreams? The team laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was Kyle. Laughing was safer than silence. Jay walked back to his desk and opened his inbox. 37 unread messages. None for him. All copied to him. All meaningless. Half of them were Kyle forwarding other people's work and slapping his initials on the bottom. Jay scrolled, clicked, observed. And he started keeping a file. A quiet, digital one. He called it Rot. That afternoon, a new intern joined the team. Maya. Young, sharp, nervous. She shook hands with everyone, except Kyle. He barely looked up from his phone. Jay watched as she was placed in the desk across from his, close enough to hear every whispered insult. Over the next few days, Jay noticed something. Maya was good, too good, and that was going to be a problem. On Thursday, Kyle called a meeting, mandatory. Teams sync, he said. Everyone filed into the glass meeting room. Jay sat at the end, Maya beside him. Kyle stood at the front, arms crossed, fake smile on full blast. Okay, folks, big client presentation next week. We need something slick, clean, and impressive. I want mock-ups, flowcharts, KPIs, the works. He looked around, scheming. And I'm thinking we let our rising stars take the lead. Everyone turned to Maya. She blinked, nodded slowly, smiled a little. Jay almost warned her. Almost. By the next morning, Maya had her draft ready. It was stunning. Elegant slides, clear metrics, color-coded reports. Kyle skimmed it, grunted, and said, dismissive, "Yeah, it's okay. I'll polish it up." Jay watched from his desk as Kyle opened a blank file, then began copying Maya's work into a new format. One slide at a time, removing her name. Jay leaned forward, thoughtful. Are you going to credit her? Kyle didn't look up, annoyed. What? Maya, it's her deck. Kyle Shuckles laughed under his breath. Relax, intern, I'm just streamlining it. I'm the one presenting anyway. Jay didn't reply. He just stood up, walked over to the whiteboard, and erased the word sync from the meeting list. Wrote something else. Steal. Kyle noticed. Paused. Angry. What's your problem, man? You're just an intern. Jay turned, calm as ever. I was just observing. Kyle stepped closer, threatening. Yeah? Well, observe this. You keep poking around, you'll be back on the street before your unpaid probation's over. Capiche? Jay stared at him, then sat back down. No reply. No fear, just the tiniest smile. That evening, Jay met with the board liaison in secret. A quiet rooftop, one conversation. "How's it looking?" the liaison asked. Jay sighs. "It's worse than I thought. The rot's deep, but I'm close." Curious. To what? Jay looked out at the skyline. To deciding whether it can be saved. The next day was the big presentation. Kyle took center stage in the boardroom. New suit, new haircut, old lies. He presented Maya's work as his own, took questions, told jokes. Maya sat silently in the back row, holding a printed copy of her original slides. Jay watched every face, every reaction. He saw something break in Maya as the room applauded. Later that day, Jay found her in the stairwell. She wasn't crying, just still. He sat beside her, whisper. "He stole it," she whispered. Jay nodded. She looked at him, curious. "What are you gonna do?" He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out his phone, opened a folder. Inside, screenshots, emails, recordings, a growing library of unethical behavior, all time-stamped, all archived. Jay turned the screen toward her. Determined. "I'm just getting started." Some stories crack slowly. Others snap in an instant. For Jay, it was somewhere in between. He had seen enough. Enough lies, enough theft, enough silence. And yet, he still hadn't decided what to do. Because exposing the company wouldn't just hurt Kyle, it would burn the whole thing to the ground, including the people worth saving. Jay sat alone in the back booth of the diner again. Same seat, same coffee, different weight on his chest. Across from him sat the board liaison, older, stern, watching. "You look tired," the liaison said. Jay nodded. "I am. Do you want out?" Jay looked out the window, where the city lights flickered like thoughts he didn't want to face. "No," he said. "Not yet, but I need to know." He paused. "Was it always like this? Did I build this rot without realizing it?" The liaison didn't answer, and that silence said enough. At the office, things moved fast. Kyle's stolen presentation landed him a private lunch with one of the board members. He returned grinning, strutting like a man already shopping for his corner office. He passed Jay in the hallway and slapped him on the back. "Careful, coffee boy. Floors might be too polished for someone at your pay grade." Jay just stared, watched him walk away, then opened his notebook and made another mark. In the break room, Maya leaned against the counter, silent. Jay joined her. She didn't smile, didn't even look up. "He's rising," she said, "and we're watching it happen." Jay nodded. "But rising too fast," he said. "He's going to fall." That afternoon, an emergency team meeting was called. A pre-launch pressure sink, Kyle called it, but it was nothing more than a performance. Kyle stood at the front of the room again, clicking through metrics he barely understood. He asked Maya to present her little dashboard thing. She walked to the screen without speaking, pulled up the graphs, spoke clearly, concisely. Kyle interrupted her 5 times. Jay watched it all, and behind his calm eyes, something broke. That night, Jay went home and opened a private folder. One the board hadn't seen, not even the liaison. Inside were old company emails, ones from the founding year, photos of the first team, his original vision document, and a note, handwritten, by him,
dated 5 years ago. It read, "If you ever feel like the company has lost its soul, walk away or take it back." Jay stared at it, longer than he expected, then closed the laptop. The next morning, he arrived early again, but something was different. This time, someone was waiting for him. Maya. She held a USB stick in one hand and a paper folder in the other. Surprised. "What's this?" Jay asked. "Proof," she said. "Kyle's been trying to sell client data to an outside firm. I overheard a call. I recorded it." Jay blinked. Processing. She handed him the USB. "And this," she said, tapping the folder, "is everything else. Signed authorizations, ghost invoices, legal backdoors. I've been collecting it." Jay said nothing for a long time. Then finally, "Why?" Maya looked tired and angry, annoyed. "Because you're not the only one watching." Jay went quiet for the rest of the day. He didn't touch his keyboard. He didn't check Slack. He didn't even make coffee. He just thought. Maya had been right. Kyle wasn't just a symptom. He was a disease. And he was spreading. The company Jay had built with hope and sweat and night after night in that cramped first-floor office, it had become unrecognizable. And yet, Jay had to know if it was still worth saving. That evening, the liaison called. "We need a decision," he said. "Either you report it quietly through HR, or we go public." Jay sat in his chair, lights off, eyes closed. Firmly, "No," he said. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Surprised. "No?" Determined. "We're not going quiet. We're not going corporate. I'm not going to fix this with another policy email." "Then what are you going to do?" Jay opened his eyes, resolved. "I'm going to remind them who built this place." He stood up, opened the drawer, took out the old Vexon founder badge, still scratched, still real. He held it in his hand like a weapon, like a memory, like a promise. By Monday morning, something in Jay had changed. He walked through the front doors of Vexon with his head higher, his steps slower, measured. The guard at the front barely glanced at him again. But Jay looked him in the eye this time, nodded, said calmly, "Good morning." And for a second, just a second, the guard's posture straightened, unsure why. Jay sat at his desk, opened his laptop and reviewed Maya's files again. They weren't just damning, they were devastating. Invoices for services that didn't exist, contracts that benefited companies connected to Kyle's cousin, back-end logs showing client data being mirrored to an unauthorized server. Jay closed the folder, then opened another. It was time to show someone else the truth. At lunch, Jay approached a woman named Serena, a senior software engineer known for being quiet but respected. He sat down across from her in the cafe without asking, determined. "Can I show you something?" She looked confused, then intrigued. Jay opened his tablet, scrolled, showed her everything. At first, she laughed. "Nice mock-up," she said. Jay didn't smile. He kept scrolling. Her face slowly shifted from amusement to disbelief, to something colder. "Why are you showing me this?" she whispered.
firmly. "Because this company doesn't belong to Kyle," Jay said. "It never did." Serena stared at him, and then she nodded. By the end of the day, 4 more employees had seen the files. Each of them responded differently. Shock, anger, silence. But none of them denied it, and none of them reported Jay. Word began to spread. Not loudly, not openly, but in whispers, in glances, in the way people looked at Kyle when he walked by. The structure was shifting, and Kyle didn't feel it. Not yet. That night, Kyle threw a private party. Exclusive, sleek, held at a rooftop bar he didn't pay for. He invited board members, influencers, a handful of VPs, and, oddly, Maya. She didn't want to go. Jay said, thoughtful, "You should." Confused. "Why?" she asked. Gravelly. "Because some snakes only show their fangs when they think they're safe." Maya sighed, wore a plain dress, and showed up fashionably late. The rooftop was full of laughter, music, and overconfident drinks. Kyle pulled Maya aside, handed her a champagne flute, smirked. Confident. "You know, you're talented," he said. "I see it." She said nothing. Kyle continued, leans in. "You just need someone to guide you, keep you close, shield you from the uglier stuff. Let me be that guy." He leaned in, too close. She didn't move, didn't flinch, just hit record on her phone. The next morning, Jay received the audio. It wasn't criminal, but it was proof. Proof of how Kyle operated, proof of the culture he cultivated, and it was enough. That afternoon, Jay scheduled a meeting. Not with HR, not with legal, with the founders board. 5 members, all old enough to remember when Vexen had 10 employees and 1 microwave. They didn't recognize Jay at first, but when he walked into the boardroom and dropped a flash drive on the table, and then his founder badge right next to it, they listened. Jay laid it out plainly. The files, the fraud, the stolen work, the manipulation. Then he pointed to the monitor and played the audio. When it ended, no one spoke. Then finally, one board member asked, thoughtful, "What do you want us to do?" Jay looked up, determined. "I want to hold a meeting." The next morning, a calendar invite hit every employee inbox. Mandatory all hands, 10 a.m., conference room B. No details. Kyle saw it and rolled his eyes. Loudly, "Must be compliance again," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Better bring donuts." He, Cuckles, laughed. No one else did. At 9:58 a.m., the room was packed. Even the intern team was there. Maya sat near the front, Serena beside her. Kyle walked in like he owned the building. He didn't notice the projector screen was already on, didn't notice the file name on the top corner. Internal corruption, presentation draft. Jay stood at the front. No hoodie today, pressed shirt, simple blazer. Still quiet, still calm. He nodded once and began. The conference room was quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet where something was about to happen and everyone could feel it in their chest. Kyle was sitting near the front now, still smirking, but fidgeting with his phone. He hadn't noticed yet. Jay stood at the head of the room, not as an intern, not as an employee, as something else entirely. "My name," he began, "is Jay Vey." Some eyes widened. Others didn't react at all. Kyle looked up briefly, confused. Jay continued. 7 years ago, I founded Vexen Technologies. I built this company from a borrowed laptop and $10 in ramen. The smirk on Kyle's face faltered. I stepped away 5 years ago. I wanted to see what would grow without me. What kind of leaders would rise? What kind of culture would take root? Jay clicked a remote. The projector lit up behind him. A slideshow appeared, titled ROT. The first slide was a timestamped screenshot, an email from Kyle forwarding stolen work. The second, a transaction record, a shell company tied to Kyle's family. Then, the audio. Kyle's rooftop conversation with Maya, his manipulation thinly veiled as mentorship. Jay let the room listen in silence, let every eye turn toward Kyle, slowly, like a tide. Kyle stood up suddenly. "This is insane," he barked.
When the door closed, silence returned. Jay looked around the room.
"Some of you watched," he said. "Some of you looked away. But others, a few of you, stood up. Quietly, steadily. I saw you. I remember you." He turned off the projector. "The soul of this company isn't in the stock price or the glass walls. It's in the people. And it's time we rebuild." He paused. Resolute. Together. Later that day, Jay stepped into the elevator alone. The doors began to close, then stopped. Maya slipped in. She said nothing for a while. Then, curious, "So what now?" Jay smiled faintly, relaxed. "Now, I put the hoodie back on and start over."
The office felt different the next day. No emails went out, no big announcement, no internal memo about leadership changes or organizational restructuring. And yet, everyone knew. Kyle was gone. And Jay? Jay wasn't just the intern anymore. But he didn't move offices, didn't upgrade desks, didn't even start dressing differently. He still made his own coffee, still sat by the vending machines, still listened more than he talked. What changed wasn't how people looked at him. It was how they looked at each other. With awareness, with curiosity, with a quiet question behind every glance. What part did I play? Maya got promoted. Not just a title, not just a raise. She got a new team. Handpicked, diverse, hungry. Jay gave her one rule: make sure no one feels invisible. She posted it on the wall, printed, in color, framed. Jay restructured the intern program completely. Every intern got a mentor. Real projects, real training. He brought back the original Vexen Values packet, the one he'd written on a plane 7 years ago. It said, "We grow humans first, products second." Some rolled their eyes, but the ones who mattered didn't. HR quietly opened a few investigations. Some managers resigned on their own terms. Others got feedback they'd never received before. The company didn't change overnight, but it had stopped rotting, and that was enough for now. One evening, as the sun dipped below the skyline, Jay sat on the rooftop alone. No liaison, no board member, no Maya, just him, and the city, and the breeze. He held the old founder badge in his hand, ran his thumb over the fading ink, then tossed it gently into the air, not off the roof, just up. Caught it, smiled, less ago name. He didn't need the badge anymore. He didn't need the power. He had something better. Clarity. Clarity about what mattered. People.
culture. The quiet strength of those who listen. Less ago name. Maya joined him a few minutes later. She didn't say anything at first. Then, less ago name. You know, she said. Most people would have just fired him and walked away. Jay shook his head. Less ago name. That's not leadership, he said. That's cleanup. She nodded slowly. Less ago name. Think you'll stay? Jay looked out over the city. Less ago name. For a while, he said. Long enough to make sure it sticks. Less ago name. Down below, the lights of the office floor flickered on. The next shift was starting. New interns were arriving. Fresh eyes, fresh hopes. Jay stood, stretched, and started walking back toward the door. No fanfare, no music, just the footsteps of someone who had nothing left to prove and everything left to protect.